Hey, it's News from Heaven. Today we're asking, why can only some people see spirits? Which is like, why are only some people good at basketball? Why are only some people good at Pictionary? Why can only some people see and interact with spirits in the spiritual world? You might say, that's a weird question, I'm out of here. But it's one we got to work through here, because this whole channel is about, we look through the material of Swedenborg, who has got all this stuff that we consider these high-end insights for how to navigate life. And yet, a lot of this material is through him having these experiences. He can see his spirits, he can talk to them, he can learn from them. How does it connect, and why are some of us in that world so deeply that it's all we think about, and others of us don't even think, are there spirits? Is this just all a weird thing that's made up? What is wrong with this guy on this channel? How can we sort this all out? Why, if it's true, why is there such a dichotomy? And the point of it all is that we're trying to use information, even about seemingly strange things, to liberate each other, members of the human race, from what I would call the negative head weather. So can we, in learning principles about how the physical interacts with the spiritual, why we can or can't perceive things beyond the day-to-day grocery store kind of stuff, can that help us get out from under all the things that bombard us, the worry about the future? Isn't it strange that the conditions of life for so many of us come with these negative messages that there's not enough, you're not enough, things are going to be bad? What is that, and can anything we learn about the truth, even about the interface with spirits, be some kind of brighter beacon that lifts us out of that world into the mindset we should be in, which is happy, joyous, and free? Well, let's take a look right now. You can follow along. We're in Heaven and Hell. You can download it for free. Click the link in the description. Scroll down to number 453. Before you get started, now that you're already invested, please like and subscribe. That lets us know that you like the show. Leave a comment. Is this stuff helping you? Those matter. Those metrics matter. Click the bell if you are subscribed. Thank you so much. Download the book. Okay, we begin our chapter here. And, I have to do like one more hedge here. I was going to say shoot, by the way. We have to do one more hedge, because we are going to get to the mechanics, not the ethical side, but the mechanical side of why some people see spirits. And just on our way there, even though this whole thing is only like a page, I know this introduction seems like it's like 25 pages, we are going to wade our way in getting there, just through a little definition of life itself, solving the mystery of what's the difference between organic and inorganic stuff. Okay, all right, that's the density of the Swedenborg experience. After death, we are in a complete human form, which just doesn't have to do with either of those two things I just said, but I'm telling you, there's so much stuff here. This matters. Why? Why are we in a complete human form? Is it just because it feels good? Is it just because we're already human here, so we're kind of imagining our afterlife based on it? What is leading to this form showing up in the afterlife? The fact that the form of a spirit person is the human form, or that a spirit is a person as far as the form is concerned, meaning you spirits are shaped like us. You've probably seen me draw an awesome coat hanger looking person like this before. Why? Why do I draw that for spirit? Why don't I draw like a misty, nebulous, flying jellyfish? Why is it this one? As far as the form is concerned, follows from what has been presented in a number of earlier chapters, especially where I explained that every angel is in a perfect human form. Go check that out. That everyone is a spirit inwardly, by the way. There's a spirit in there. Look, those numbers will support it. That the angels in heaven are from the human race. All those points matter. We're going to skip it. The beautiful thing is, you can go back, check that stuff out for yourself. But none of it is going to be as cool as this, I think. This may be grasped even more clearly from the fact that we are human because of our spirit, not because of our body. And because our physical form is appended to the spirit in keeping with its form, not the other way around, since a spirit is clothed with a body that suits its form. Doesn't it seem like when we picture a spirit that you have this, is this going to be the second blue stick person? Well, this one will be a little bit more of a snowman. You think you have the form of the body, and it's within the body that the spirit starts to sort of get its life, and it sort of fills us out, and that's how we get it. But Swedenborg is asserting that the spirit is what's in the form, and not just this person that has arms and legs, but everything, all the little organs in there that you can't see, every single little cell, every single appendix, every double chin that we may have is the spirit's first, and then the body is the covering on that. which you can think of as like, oh, I saw a person who was some kind of being of light, but to actually get down to the stuff inside of us as well, that's something that starts to get pretty heavy. As a result, the human spirit acts upon the individual parts of the body, even the smallest ones, even to the point that any part of it, we're starting to get into our definition of life, that is not activated by the Spirit, any part in which there is no Spirit acting is not alive. Any part in which there is no Spirit acting is not alive. I'm going to propose that we make a submission to Merriam-Webster's dictionary.com to get this into the life entry. And you want to know why? Because we as human beings, including Merriam-Webster's dictionary, don't really know what it means to be alive. Let me show you. This is a screen capture of the Merriam-Webster's dictionary. No, they didn't sponsor me. I have no obligation to say their name. Actually, if they ever saw this show, they'd probably say, take this down. This is embarrassing that we're affiliated with this program in any way. But to add insult to injury, I am going to critique this definition of life that we see here. And it's important to note, it doesn't mean that I think these guys aren't doing a good job. As far as I know, Merriam-Webster, gold standard, of definition-y, dictionary type stuff. These people there are a lot smarter than I am. They know language a lot better. I can barely string together a sentence. However, the definition that follows more reflects as the human race's puzzling interface with trying to get a handle on what defines life, what makes something alive versus dead, than it does with the skill of the people doing the dictionary. This is just a confusing thing. What is life? Definition of life. A, the quality that distinguishes a vital and functional being from a dead body. Okay, so there's some issues here. One, what's a dead body? Dead just means you're not alive. So it's like, what does it mean to be alive? Oh, you're not dead, which is just a sort of self-referential definition. And then it's just like the quality. There's no particle that we're measuring. There's nothing hard about it. You have to, because life is such an ephemeral thing. This is how I understand it anyway. I would hate to see somebody who actually knows about this talking about it in regard to what I'm saying here. But as I understand it, it means you're not alive. It's not a very precise definition, or a principle or force that is considered to underlie the distinctive quality of animate beings. And we're just having to say, it's the little thing that's alive. It's like sort of alive. There's no technical definition. And this is really the one. I once read this whole book called What is Life? And they were talking about how hard it is for biologists to define life. And so you just have to kind of patchwork something together. An organismic state characterized by capacity for metabolism. You can see what metabolism is. Growth, reaction to stimuli, and reproduction. You don't have a single definition. You just have to get a basket and say, look, this is all the different stuff that life does. We'll throw it all in there and call that life, because it's weird. What makes something alive? And what Swedenborg is giving us, what we can write, in our little fourth definition here, is any part in which there is no spirit acting is not alive. So the flip side, what's life? What makes something alive is that you have physical matter that somehow a spirit is acting directly on. That causes all these things, metabolism, growth, reaction to stimuli, reproduction. Those are all somehow connected to this interface with the spirit. So there you have it. Swedenborg is getting us to us being complete human form, and just happens to throw out the new definition for what it is to be alive. And he's going to tell us how this is, in some ways, intuitive. Anyone may realize this by considering that thought and intent activate absolutely everything in the body, and are so completely in control that nothing dissents, and if anything does not consent, it is not part of the body. And we say, you can move your arm, and if you can't, something's really wrong. And so that's very interesting for him to say that thought and intent activate absolutely everything in the body. I mean, certainly you can. And through this seamless system, I think about moving my hands and sometimes forget I'm moving them, but there's an intentional, you don't even know sort of when did I press the key that moved this forward. It's so smooth you can't tell, but it's very much will-oriented. I wonder too, though, if he's saying absolutely everything in the body is activated, does this start to get into like placebo effect, mind over matter, meditative states where you can actually, things that you'd think are involuntary can be a little more voluntary, that there's some deep connection there between thought and intent. Either way, he's saying it's our consciousness, it's our spirit in direct conjunction with all these parts of the body. Not just that it sends an email and then that gets carried out. Direct connection to all these parts of the body. He talks in other places specifically about it's how it's through the nervous system. Isn't this cool? I mean, if we're talking about spirits and things, shouldn't it make sense interfacing with the things we do know about how the body works and everything like that? I digress. That somehow you're getting this direct connection, and that's because the spirit is not just one little thing that has one point of connection. It is attached to absolutely everything in the body. That's why this yellow blob is in the same shape as this blue one. It is actually expelled as something with no life in it. So that when something dies, it's the body can recognize this doesn't have the spirit in it. It's out of here. Thought, in most cases, thought and intent are attributes of our spirit, not of the body. And in case you're looking for a real pragmatic, or at least down-to-earth-ish statement on what's the spirit, thought and intent. So the conscious part of you is the spirit. Okay, now, with that loaded up, he thinks this is an appropriate time to segue into why some people can see spirits, what mechanism. I did already say what mechanism underlies that. Darn, I used up my good phrase early. Here we go. The reason we cannot see the human form of spirits who have left the body, and check this out, spirits still within the people we meet. Because you always think of, you could see your grandmother who's passed on, but everybody that you can see a body to has this spirit as well. Why? What's their spirit like? Does it always look like their body? Is it something different? We meet is that our physical organ of sight, the eye, oh man, that's awesome, is material to the extent that it can see in this world what is material sees only what is material. Okay, because everything in the eye is, there are rods and cones and things and cells and things, and rods and cones are cells. That's all made of physical material. It can only accept input from physical light. So, of course, you can't see something spiritual. What is spiritual, though, does see what is spiritual. And there we have a little issue, because if we have a spirit, if our consciousness is spiritual, if we're saying thoughts and feelings are spiritual, that have this spiritual structure that's just like the structure in the spirit, that you essentially have spiritual eyes and a spiritual head, why can't you see through that everything around you that's spiritual? Here's the answer. So when the material eye is covered over and loses its coordination with the spirit, then spirits are visible in their own form, which is human. There's two parts of this sentence that I want to break down. So first of all, as helpful as our physical eyeballs are, and what they obviously give us this this is starting to look kind of creepy, this picture here. They obviously give us this amazing ability to navigate the world. They actually may throw up a barrier to our interface with the spiritual world. So the material eye is covered over. You think about like closing your eyes to meditate, or somehow moving beyond that. And then look what that does. Loses its coordination with the spirit. Then spirits are visible in their own form, which is human. So something about detaching the connection between the physical eye and its counterpart in the spirit here. It's like you know when you're plugged in to the TV and you're looking for HDMI 4 because that's the thing that your cable box or your Netflix, I don't even know how people watch TV anymore. You got to get there and you're trying to find it. When you plug something new in, it takes over the signal. It's like that. We have the physical plugged into our, the HDMI of our spirit, so we're in physical mode. But when we lose connection with that, then spirits are visible. They're all around us. It's all there, but you just actually need to forgo this stuff. Now, this brings up some interesting questions here, because Swedenborg was often in a state where he could see with his physical eye and see spiritually. A lot of people can report that going within, you meditate, that's how people can induce experiences, see people on the other side. You also get this in dreams, that according to Swedenborg, all this stuff that's pouring in, all these amazing sights and sounds, and I just had some really bizarre ones last night. That is the spiritual world coming in, because it's your consciousness not reflecting off the physical. That's you're seeing through the eyes of your spirit there. So that being because the physical is shut down. But a lot of people can see spirits, or like Swedenborg included, while the physical is still going on. So there must be a way that this coordination is somehow disrupted in a more intentional way that allows you to look through both at the same time, sort of like augmented reality of the spirit. So this human form, naturally, if you're not seeing this blue layer anymore, you just see the real person, but it's still human, because it's the approximation that we walk around in here and have to try to comb its hair and like, oh, why did I look so bad today? That's just the casing on the real you. And it's a human form not only for spirits who are in the spiritual world, but also for spirits in people we meet while they are still in their bodies. And there's a fascinating story Swedenborg tells about being able to go and talk to people's spirits while they're still in the physical world, and that the people in the physical world didn't realize that their spirits were being talked to by Swedenborg. That's another can of worms, which I don't understand. So like, is there two consciousnesses? I don't know. I shouldn't have even brought it up. It was a terrible mistake. Okay, so the reason the form of a spirit is a human one is that in regards to our spirits, we have been created in the form of heaven. Aha. Here we're starting to get somewhere, because you may be thinking, okay, so you're telling me about something, you're giving me a structure, or do you think you're giving me a structure for something about how the spiritual world might work and how that could line up well with the physical world, and maybe the whole thing seems, okay, if it is systematic, maybe it could be believable, and that could be good, that there's something more than just a physical that ends in a couple of years anyway for everybody who's going, through older and older age. But what's the uplift? How does this get me out of this? Well, it could well be that the spirit that's inside you, that we're learning the spirit that's inside you, that's you and the real you, is not just nothing. This is the form of heaven. And that should be a yellow. So what does that mean? How can we give ourselves something to pump ourselves up about? Since all the elements of heaven and its design, look at this. You're just going to throw this in here like it's nothing? No, not green, purple. All the elements of heaven and its design are summed up in the elements of the human mind. No offense to green, by the way. All the elements of heaven and its design are summed up in the elements of the human mind. Obviously, not every human mind, mine included, is sorted correctly into that design, because they can still be a pain to navigate. But look at that. That somehow everything that's going on in your consciousness is this smallest form of heaven. And what does that even mean? Elements of your mind? Is it that the things you love, the way your memories are organized, that your potential to learn and grow and change, your potential to overcome things, that the plans you're on, somehow that's a mirror for these communities of heavenly angels and how they're living. These two things, we're connected. Like these are the same thing. What's going on in you is, even though it seems jumbled and chaotic and weird, is actually sacred. And it's pulling you towards a home in here. All the elements of your mind. So when you're sitting there and life is just pounding and pounding you, just know that the elements in your mind, this is heaven. This is a little heaven, and really a heaven in becoming, that God is seeing all these and knows how I can pull this into the particular heaven that each one of us is destined for, should we decide we want to cooperate. This is the source, and this, because we are that little bit of heaven, this is the source of our ability to accept intelligence and wisdom. It makes no difference whether you talk about our ability to accept intelligence and wisdom or our ability to accept heaven. As you may gather from all these other things I said. I told you I really did my due diligence in explaining all these things. Get in there. All that's going to tell you that the intelligence and wisdom, the learning and the growing that we're doing here as we navigate the physical world, as some of us navigate the world of spirits and the sort of whatever break it causes to get you to be able to get in there, the learning we're doing in whatever path you may be saying, I wish I could see the spiritual world, but I can't. Whatever path it is, it's the divine providence pulling us in to be able to accept this intelligence and wisdom, which is heaven. It is not a place, it's a state of mind, and it's something that we can be pulled into now in this life, and we're being set up to for eternity. So tell that to your head weather, and that's the news from heaven. How'd it go? Does that give you any answers? I know it was just a little snippet about the spirits, but I think it's a crucial point that everything is not, it's not God's playing favorites. Some people get to have these mystical experiences, others don't. It's all part of the design, and this design is so important and so tightly managed that it's even, the physical enwrapping the spiritual, which allows us to accept love and wisdom. Something good is happening, even when it seems like it's not. Did you get anything out of that? Let me know in the comments. Like and subscribe. Take this out into the world and say to your neighbor when they walk by, I know why some people can't see spirits. And then watch them put a for sale sign up in their yard. Okay, guys, thank you so much for letting me talk about this. Obviously, it means a lot to me. Hope you get something good out of it. Let me know in the comments what you got, and I will talk to you very soon.